you. Thank you, Ricky.
So Joyce, why don't you? You're pretty popular in the room. I don't know. I think mostly everyone knows you in here. But for the ones who don't, give us a brief intro about you. Tell us a little bit about your background, even, and why you love smart cities.
Okay, yeah, I will do that. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. As Ricky said, I'm Joyce Deuley, the Director of Research and Innovation for Zpryme. I am a native San Antonian. What? Recently moved out to the Hill Country, but my background is in emerging technologies. I got started in college researching machine communication and the Internet of Things. And it was through that work that I started hearing stuff about smart city applications and what you can really do with these kinds of technology enablements at scale. And that really resonated with me from a conservation perspective. There was a really cool case study that this company put a bunch of sensors out in Louisville, Texas on their water meters, and they were able to project out over a 10-year period, being able to save $10 billion in repair costs and management and maintenance, as well as 60 billion gallons of water for one small to medium-sized town in Texas. And I was just like, if we can figure out how to activate that at scale, then we're on to something really amazing. And then as I got deeper and more involved with what's happening in smart cities, the people who are involved, is really what makes, I think, a huge difference. And so I left IoT to do smart cities work in Texas, tried to make Texas a smart state, and through that work, I met up with the city of San Antonio and launched a program called CivTech SA that connected startups and city departments to develop custom tech solutions and deploy them at scale, which was really exciting. And then I got the chance to build a civic innovation incubator program as well in San Antonio in an entrepreneurial space called Geekdom. And with that, I have done all kinds of stuff with smart cities, and I'm deeply passionate about it because I think what we really get to do is bridge technology and people and about things that we care about most, which is our homes and where we live. And so it's very exciting to get to do what you love with people you love every day.
Technology and people for me are the core of the smart city, and so here I say that it's great. Fun fact for everyone to know, Joyce also really kind of led the charge for the Texas Smart City Summit here in Houston in terms of some of the content that you're going to hear today. So Joyce, can you maybe share with us some fun conversations that you're excited about today, or kind of maybe your overall thought process when thinking about bringing Texas cities together and having the most important conversations that are needed right now?
Man, okay. So it's going to be cheating to say I'm excited about all of it. I'm also very biased because I love all of it. But we're going to be talking about, emerging technologies and how AI is being incorporated from a social responsibility perspective. We're going to be talking about drone applications and procurement policies and how do cities actually take advantage of what's going on. But the theme is really like resilient communities is what we're focusing on. And so how does the city become resilient? What does that mean in terms of community engagement and representation and accessibility versus just availability and a few other things like that.
So you're also a Texas native, like me as well. But I'm from Austin, so I'm Austin-based. Was Austin-based. I'm now based in Dallas, so still in Texas though. Talk to me a little bit about maybe growing up in San Antonio, right? Because you're San Antonio, not native, but native, yes, perfect, great. Tell me a little bit about what it was like growing up in San Antonio and maybe what you've seen in transition to it now.
I mean, there's been so much change. I think all of the major cities in Texas probably are experiencing this as well. There's just a dramatic shift that's been going on in terms of urbanization and the people that are coming to Texas in general from elsewhere. So even in the last few years, San Antonio's landscape has changed dramatically. There used to be a lot more farmland. There used to be a lot more on the fringes of town and things like that. And now we're starting to get new high-rises in a city that hadn't built high-rises in 30 years or more, which is really cool, and restoration of historic buildings and things like that. And, in my previous role at Geekdom, I got to work downtown every day. And so I got to see all of the new construction that's coming and what we're getting prepared for in terms of, the population boom and how we're going to manage the mobility aspects and equity and associated with it.
So the former CPS Energy, the utility company in San Antonio, their former CEO used to talk about the Austin to San Antonio I-35 corridor, and how one day she envisions that's going to be very similar to like the Dallas-Fort Worth area, to where they've now just encompassed each other completely. What are your thoughts on an Austin-San Antonio, Dallas-Fort Worth type of situation? You're now based in Austin, right outside of Austin. So what are your kind of thoughts around maybe different things that they could learn from each other, or just things like that?
Wow. How do I say this? Because San Antonio forever. No, I think that there's plenty of room and opportunity for both to come together. I mean, I think it's merging of the two major cities along the I-35 corridor, and what is happening even in the smaller cities too is really interesting. New Braunfels, Texas, for instance, rolled out a smart grid solution to be able to support the transition that's coming as both of these cities come closer and closer together. I think San Antonio can bring a lot of collaboration to the table. Their Smart SA partnerships with their municipal organizations, like their transit system, their utilities, their county, the Edwards Aquifer, the city of San Antonio, the housing authority, like how they've been able to come together, I think is really beautiful. I think Austin's ability to attract new talent and inject new funding mechanisms into a community is really important as well, and the cultural history that they both share is going to just enhance the process.
Right outside of Austin, we in Kyle, in the city of Kyle, they're doing a lot of things when it comes to mobility, and so they're even coming up with things in between for, how do we get residents to the airport in Austin for $3.14? How do we have more services that are really going to serve our communities in that aspect? And so Kyle's literally right in the middle, well, not right in the middle, but it's close to the middle of Austin and San Antonio. And so I think kind of throughout that pipeline of through Austin to San Antonio, there's also unique partnerships with those smaller cities. Do you see what are your thoughts on like smaller cities in terms of ways that they can change versus like larger ones in that aspect?
I think smaller cities have a really unique advantage in the sense that they can be a lot more agile. If they have their strategies in place, if they really kind of know what they want to achieve, the ability to just make it happen, I think is a little bit different from larger cities because there's not as many voices at the table.
Right. They're quick.
They're quick. So there's that. I think what we find is that, getting those resources or the staffing talent to be able to manage the innovations in-house is maybe not as developed in other cities or smaller cities, but that's where partners and really strong vendors can come in and to support, those smaller cities and make it happen. But I think it's a rich opportunity for everybody. I think the biggest hurdle that anyone is going to really deal with, besides making sure that we don't build systems of inequity as we deploy new technology solutions, is probably going to be the procurement process and how do you actually adopt and make it happen.
When it comes to adopting those new processes, people do come into play all the time, right? So you do a lot of smart city work. So as a resident of a city that's pretty much really leading the way when it comes to smart city, San Antonio, what's that relationship like as a resident versus someone who's helping facilitate that work?
Well, I sort of get to peek behind the curtain, right? Because I was a partner of the city of San Antonio for several years, and still now in this new role here at Zpryme, I still get to partner with the city of San Antonio. I think as a resident of any city, it's always challenging to look at the immediate needs in your community and seeing the gaps that exist, and to hear about new innovation projects that maybe seem a little out of reach. And so how do you balance the two, right? Because you need to build towards the future, but there are real problems addressed today. What I will say about living in San Antonio is the level of engagement that the city has done to reach out to its communities and try to bring them along in the conversation, not just bring them along, but engage with them about what is most important to them as they develop the city of the future for San Antonio, has been important. And I know that there are other cities that are doing the same kind of thing, right? Which is, if you can figure out how to engage with your residents and forward on a roadmap that makes sense for your community, the technology will come into line. It's just about making sure that you invite the people to the table in the first place. And I think San Antonio's done a good job of that.
Nice. So our theme for this year, for this event, is resilient communities. So for me, when I think about resilient communities, I think that means that you need people at the table. You need the voices that maybe are marginalized or underrepresented, meaning we need to probably be in those communities rather than have the communities come to us. Probably community members don't want to come to your city office or your utility headquarters or even anything of that nature. So really, when we're thinking about building resilient communities and what that looks like on a much larger scale, we really wanted that to be the theme this year. So can you talk to me a little bit about what resilient communities and that theme truly means to you?
Yeah, I mean, resilience can be, what are you talking about? Financial resilience, operational resilience? Are you talking about technology resilience, security resilience? The community aspects of it for me is like, how do we come together in those, like, how do we handle chaos? Right? A pandemic happened. There are natural disasters that occur due to weather-related things. And, how do we come together to ensure that our community moves through those challenging periods with grace and as a unit? And I think you can do that by building relationships before all of that happens, right? Because in a crisis, you need trust. And to establish trust really takes a lot of foundational ground laying work. And much like you said, going out into the community is the way to do it, because it's not an if you build it, they will come mentality. It's, you have to go out and meet people where they're at. And I think having a service-oriented mindset, whether you're a vendor, whether you're a city official, whether you're, a partner or whatever, like just getting involved with your community organizations and figuring out what their needs really are and how you can be of help is what's going to make the difference.
So I just moved from Austin to Dallas, and when I got to Dallas, the first piece of mail I received was from the city of Dallas, actually, that wanted to know, one, why did I move there? What was I doing there? How long I plan to stay there, and what my interests are in the city. And I was like, I'm not gonna fill this out ever. Like, why would I even do this? Why would I want to talk to them? And then they incentivized it at the bottom with a $100 gift card, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll fill out the survey. Cool. So, you've been in San Antonio. You're now in Austin. Are there any other Texas cities that you're maybe curious or interested in learning more about over the next day? Over today?
Yeah, we have several cities involved. I mean, we have definitely talked about the city of San Antonio, and again, that's my fault right now because I'm from there. But we had the city of Houston that is definitely going to get highlighted. We have the city of Sugar Land, Texas. We have the city of Frisco, Texas. We've got Austin represented as well. People that we would love to extend invitations to bring, to more of the conversation. Like, we want to know what's going on in El Paso. El Paso tends to get left out of the conversation, but they are no less important than anybody else. But not just what's happening out in West Texas, what's going on in Amarillo these days, like what's happening down in Boca Chica and Brownsville. There's a lot of innovation and things coming to Texas, and these cities are just growing rapidly, and the new innovations that are coming are disruptive in the positive sense, as well as there are some challenges associated with that. And so getting their voices involved would be great. So today I think we're going to learn a lot, but I think we can always learn more.
I love that. Any last messages for our attendees today before our first panel?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you showed up, which is awesome. So everyone gets brownie points today for that, because that is the hardest part of anything, is just showing up. But also being engaged. Like, we have several networking events. We're going to open up times for Q&A and things like that. Please ask questions. Please don't hesitate to grab people. If you want help making introductions to someone, you can come get me or somebody else from the Zpryme team. We'll be happy to smush you all together and make sure that the conversation happens. But just thank you for being here and for being engaged.
Nice. Thank you, Joyce, for chatting with me this morning. We're going to adjust the stage really quick while you intro our next panel. All right?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Everyone, round of applause for Joyce.